Hey guys, welcome to episode 8 of Side Talk with Ramy and Craig. How you doing, Craig? Doing better?
I'm feeling better after our chat together, just calming each other down.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we actually talk for like a long time before we actually even do this because we actually catch up with each other because Craig's in Ireland and I am in Medellin. So,
Yeah, we're also
uh,
friends, not just stars of one of the best shows in the world.
right. So today's episode, we're going to talk about Putin's Palace, which has been buzzing around the internet. They call the internet. Uh,
Rami doesn't actually know anything about
I
this.
have no idea. I don't know this. I'm like, what am I doing? Right. And then we're gonna talk about good old Conor McGregor. That's a horrible
Yes.
Irish accent, right? And his loss. And does that mean he should retire, Craig? Does that mean he's wrapped up?
Yeah, we have to get into it. It's an interesting one. Do you want to start with Connor? Or do you want to start with Putin?
Uh, let's start with Putin because I have no idea
Okay.
how what the hell that's about. You know?
So I'll just give you the main points here. What's going on? Basically, they found that Putin actually has a palace for himself that he paid for using taxpayers' money. It costs approximately £1 billion. So for dollars, I don't know what that is. One point, whatever. It's higher in dollars.
Wow.
Um, yes, it's in a certain part of Russia. No one knew about it because it's of the high security. It's in a foresty location, but it's near the sea. I'll show you a couple of images
How
of
could this sounds so cliche that
it's
I'm like, this is where I expect a Putin palace to be in some sort of remote
yes,
location surrounded by forest and
yes.
Russian guards and big Russian jackets and
Yeah,
you
and
know
then it'll probably turn into like like a video game where James Bond takes on this, you know.
right like James Bond has to break in
Yeah,
to find the secret plans to the nuclear bomb or something,
exactly. I'll just
Uh,
show you a quick image just so you get an idea. This is some video from some for the news channels. You can kind of see,
wow.
what we're talking about here, the vastness. All that land behind as well is all
It's beautiful,
his
actually.
territory.
It's
And
it's beautiful.
I'll pause it here. This is the guy that broke the images. He used a drone that you saw there, and he is an opposition of Putin. He basically
Um,
is fighting a lot of anti-corruption. His name is Alexei Navalny, and he basically, Rami, released this footage to the public to show, yes, in fact, this place exists, and he then came back to Russia, and he's now in jail. We don't know what's going to happen to
no,
him,
nobody saw that coming.
right?
Listen, one thing about Putin, right? So, a little backstory, right? So, when I was in New York, right, I used to work with a lot of Russians, and because of the judo thing, a lot of Russians came through, and I actually like Eastern European people. Like they seem like class people. Like they're a bit extreme with their views, right? But see, like good class people, like right. And I always ask them because America paints Russia as this evil kind of empire, right. And I always ask them, how do you feel about Putin? And then I always got like a kind of pragmatic look or practical look at Putin. Like he wasn't evil, he wasn't like a saint either, but he's like our leader and he's doing good for Russia. It was kind of like all right, we're with him because he's our leader and they follow him. So I find that always interesting that we say he's the most evilest guy in the world,
Mm,
right? But but people actually grew up there or raised in Russia.
yeah.
Most of them, I would say, don't think that. Of course, there's a people who've been victimized by Putin. Of course, they're
Mm,
gonna like hate him,
yeah.
right? One thing's for sure, he is a patriot. He's a super
Mhm.
patriot. I saw his interview with on Showtime. Uh, what's the director's name? The guy with the JFK Scarface. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, uh, Hold on, let me see. Sorry guys, I'm so
Right.
horrible.
Just while you're looking that up, Romy, I'll just show more
Yeah.
images here just to
Sure, you go ahead. Go ahead. Wow.
see that there. I'm gonna pause it here. This is underneath that, he's got a underground ice hockey rink. You know? Do you see the shape of it? Underground ice hockey rink, and you can see the helipad there too.
That's fucking dope. Right. Oliver Stone, right? So Oliver
Right.
Stone did a set of interviews with Putin, and I found that he was super patriotic. So from his point of view, I think, right, he is the best leader for Russia. Only him, right? Because he is so about Russia. Anybody that threatens that, he looks at it as a national security thing. So for an oppositional threat, that's why they all get plucked off, I think, because he's thinking like, yo, he's trying to get that, he's trying to destroy Russia. And I will not let that happen. So I think that that's why he's so aggressive toward them.
Who's this, Romy? You're gonna sneeze? Attaboy. That's it. You feel good? You all right?
Yeah,
Bless
I
you.
feel all right, man. I had to
Who are you
sneeze
talking
Putin
about
at it.
though?
Oh, Putin.
Oh, you think he's the man for the job?
I'm saying from his point of view,
Hmm.
he's the man for the job. That's why he looks at it such that he is the best guy for Russia,
Mm-hmm.
right? The man, right? And anybody that threatens that is a national security threat because he is the only one that could do it.
Yeah.
Narcissism to the 20th degree, right? But from a if I was a Russian, yes, I would value democracy and all that stuff, but I would also value strength, right? And Russia is strong. I mean, it is a direct adversary to the Western world, which is I include the United Kingdom in that, United States in that, Europe. So I guess we kind of the world sort of needs a balance like that. Yeah.
Right.
So as opposed to his $1 billion, whatever estate. I mean, hey, when you're king,
Hmm.
I guess you could do some king shit. So
I've got a very different opinion on what you just said.
all right.
I'm excited because Rami, I've actually got a lot of Russian students that I interact with every day.
Okay.
Like, so I'm gonna just present what they've told me and what I see from what they've said to me. But first, I just want to show you this. Coming up, it's an amphitheater. See that there in the forest? Amphitheater.
Wow.
That's just another thing. And then he's also he's got this little access to the beach. So obviously you can see there from his palace, there's a tunnel and it comes out at the beach. So if you're ever at Putin's house, you got some beach access.
I mean, it's fucking dope, man. I mean, I think any stars, famous stars would rival for
Yeah.
that house. So what? So
Sorry, the other interesting thing I think people might want to know, Rami, is like the size of this place. So this is the land area of not obviously the property, but the land around it that he owns. But this is bigger actually than the closest neighboring town or village. So he's taken a chunk of land that is way bigger than the nearest little village or town.
right.
So you want to know
But
my?
anyway, yes. That's what I'm waiting for. I don't
Sorry.
care about the state anymore. Just tell me which the
I
Russian
think people
students say.
want to know. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
so basically, I would say what people think of Putin. I'd say 90% of people are frustrated and do not like him governing. That does not mean that is a representation of what the country thinks.
Are they
Remember,
young?
they are young. They're educated. They lean more left. They are people that are studying an exam to get out of the country and build a better life in another country, mainly Canada, New Zealand, UK. Those are the three places that they tend to go. So it's a good question, Rami, because you're thinking, that shows your age really does show which politician you're into. I have got older students who lean more towards Putin. They believe in him. The younger ones, not at all. Um, the ones who do believe in him, the things that they think he's done right is they've he has apparently wiped a lot of their debts away. They've cleared debt in the country. Those
Mhm.
who don't agree with him think that he takes all the money for himself, and um, the main thing that they get annoyed with is freedom. Uh, he does. They don't have like a proper political system where they believe if they vote, their result will be represented. The freedom is not there like that. Um, there's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to think. You got any side thoughts while I think of something else, Rami?
It sounds like um how young people always tend to want more of a democracy and more of freedom of kind of choice here, right? When you get older, you realize that's a lot more complicated than it sounds to actually achieve, and you start, and it's kind of sad, I guess, that you start kind of realizing that those type of thing, it just those just are not reality. People want security, yet they want to be free.
Right.
People want to be strong, yet they want people to be happy and running around, and some kind of Shangri-La type thing. And I always am reminded about The Matrix, my favorite movie, by the way. Right?
Yeah.
There's a scene
Remember?
in The Matrix, right, that Agent Smith, right? I think that's his name, Smith, right? Goes to Morpheus and he goes, we tried several different realities for you. We even tried to give you a place where is perfect, the perfect world that got rejected, you know? And I always think about that, because I feel like, we can't live in a perfect world.
Mm.
We never were meant to live in a perfect world. We always have to have conflicts and this and unrest and war. Also, that helps bring peace and stuff. So uh it just sounds like Putin ain't going anywhere anytime soon. And again, from his point of view, he deals with a lot of Russian billionaires, oligarchs, right?
Mhm.
So you can't really talk to these guys because in that world it's about who got what. You have to be like, oh yeah, I'm the president of Russia. I bet you better have $1 billion house, because otherwise, how are you going to be able to like talk to them on the same kind of level? And I'm not like, excusing this. I'm just saying because if you're Putin, this makes sense. If you're Putin, this
Mm.
makes sense. Not if you're Donald Trump or Obama, because we're not supposed to. That's a democracy for years, et cetera, et cetera. From a Putin side of view point of view, where you're dealing with oligarchs who have this and who kind of run Russia. Again, I'm not an expert in
Yeah, yeah,
Russian
you're right.
politics, right? But that's what I hear, right?
Mhm.
He has to kind of deal with them on their level. So for him to have this house is just probably from his point of view,
Mm.
it's a necessity for optics.
Yeah,
So and again, I'm not trying to say that Putin ain't a bad guy, but I don't think he's the evil man of the world like people think he's out to be as well.
yeah. It's interesting. Like, um, the big a big piece of news that came out last year for anyone who's not up to pace on the going ons in Russia, Putin. I don't know if it's the first time in history or whatever, but like he amended their constitution or their equivalent of their constitution, where uh, he was able to extend his position of power to be 16 years. He was due, like the democratic process was up, there within the next year for them to try and nominate another presidential candidate. But he changed the actual rules and said, no, the presidential candidate can actually serve for this amount of time. So he just extended his presidency. It's, that's a very, communist kind of approach.
Yeah.
Um, you're right, Rami, in what you say about young people and old people and this perfect world. a lot, especially on the far left, kind of yap a lot about we want this, this, and this, and are not in touch with the reality of the world. Now you can shout at the right all you want, but yes, that is something I do want to say.
Yeah, but again, that's human nature. Every young person was a lot less more liberal when they get older. They're a
Yes,
lot
you're
more
right,
conservative. I mean, that's just part of life, you know. But
100%.
I honestly, me personally, I did. I actually believe in what I believed when I was younger. I still believe in it.
Mm,
You know, I believe by strengthening the poor,
mm,
like I feel like that you strengthen like the rest of the rest of the world. There's an economic theory that the Reagan in the United States during the
yep,
80s started. It's called trickle down economics.
yeah,
He thought if you let the rich give them more incentives to buy
mm,
right stuff right, that it will trickle down to the poor, which will give them more economic choices and freedoms. Bullshit. It's the opposite, right? Strengthen the poor because they're the consumers, really,
mm,
right? The consumers of everyday goods,
mhm,
right? Not just luxury stuff,
yeah,
right? And you'll see a really spark in the economy. And I believe that when I was freaking 15, man, you
mm,
know, so I was like 20 something odd years later, right? So now I still believe in that. So my whole conservative and liberal kind of point of view is still pretty much
yeah,
even par, but I would even say I'm more conservative, a little bit more now,
yeah.
you know?
Just to like give you the whole picture, what I'm getting from these students, the majority, they are in their late 20s, early 30s mostly. And this thing they struggle with is the freedom. They do not believe that the country is free, and that's their frustration. They
It's not. It's
all,
not free though. It is not free.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, exactly. And the thing that they're all they predict, Ramy, all of them that I've talked to think in our lifetime there will be a civil war that'll break out. A lot of them, especially the younger generation, are really fed up with the lack of freedom. They're looking on YouTube, they're looking on Instagram, they're seeing like how countries are. They're tired of getting sanctions to go visit in another country just because of their government. See these Russian people that I talk
Yeah.
to day in, day out. They are some of the most clever, most human, down to earth, humorous people. I laugh my ass off. These people have got a great sense of humor.
Yeah. I love Russians, man. I'm telling you, I love Eastern
And
Europe. Well,
it
mainly Russians. Yeah.
it's insane the picture, as you alluded to earlier, is painted regarding their, you know, the reflection on the people. It really isn't like what we see. It's so opposite. The caring, the humor. See this coldness. See this stereotype of coldness. The reason why we think that is because when they're walking on the street, they don't smile and wave and say hello like we do when we pass sometimes. They literally, they just don't do that. It's not in their culture. But the second you say hello and start talking to them, the warmth and the openness is insane,
Right.
more
Right.
than I've experienced in this country.
Right. Oh wow. And you know,
Yes,
and the Irish people are known for that. You know.
the openness is insane.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like I said, every Russian I ever interacted with on a deeper level. They're great sense of humor.
Mhm.
They're very they're not they don't make they're survivors. They're tough people, man. They're
Tough.
like really
Yeah.
like that. Russians are like one of the toughest motherfuckers like I've ever, and that's in judo. I mean, they're just tough. They're just tough motherfuckers. They're used to like challenges, and that's why the women have such a reputation of being like kind of like not
Yeah.
the opposite of Colombian women, right? Where they're like, oh my
Yeah.
god, mi amor, right? They're like
Completely different.
like different spectrums, and beautiful, by the way. So but they're because they're tough. They're like they're used to like uh, a hard kind of challenging
Yeah.
life, man. So
100%.
uh, and they have a long, large history in every topic you could think of, from science to sports. I mean, they've had
Amazing.
achievements, uh, you know, and there's a reason why the Western world looks at them as an opposite, a rival.
Mm,
Putin said in that interview with Oliver Stone,
mm,
and I always try to put people on it, but even my friends are like, fuck Putin, I don't want to listen to anything that evil dictator has to say, right? He said something interesting. He said to Oliver Stone that um I don't look at America as our rival. I look at America as kind of like our quabbling sibling kind
mhm,
of thing.
mhm,
Like we're partners in this kind of world. Yeah, and sometimes we don't agree, but we know our place
mm,
in the in the hierarchy of things,
mhm.
right? And we need America like America needs us.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I can't believe that's a front for Oliver Stone. I have to believe that he really believes that.
Mm,
Like he's not. People think he's some kind of like elusive master of psychology. And I mean, there's nobody like that. Okay, people are human beings most of the time. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? It's right now, me and you, emotional conversation or whatever, right? Even if I was like Mr. Yeah, I manipulate everybody, right?
mm,
I'm gonna show you who I really am in between the lines,
mm.
and my answers, because you're gonna spark something that's gonna have to react some kind of emotional response. I
Ramy,
don't care.
what people would say there, and you can comment on this, is that this is a guy who was involved in he was part of the KGB. So maybe that is, that training and so on has made him this elusive character or able to manipulate and, you know.
Yeah, but even the most trained CIA operative, I haven't known too many in my life, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, again, the few people I did interact with that in my personal life that have worked for kind of a government agency like that,
Mhm.
they don't seem any different than anybody else that I've ever met. They seem like they have their faults, their work. Yeah, maybe they're trained to kind of manipulate people in a certain circumstance, but they're also human beings. So in a social kind of, even in an interview, right? Like you see it all the time. Leaders get interviewed, say gaffes, and they mess up. But they're supposed to be trained leaders, right? I mean, again, these are things that people start, their imagination starts like, oh my God, he's like some super spy agent, terrorist, bomb throwing ninja star. I'm like, come on, man. Like he is a human being.
Do you ever see the memes and him like
Put his
photoshopped
shirt
on
off.
top of a bear and stuff?
Yeah. Because he likes to write it. I mean, I think the guy is definitely an outdoors rugged guy because he is a judoka. He is a judo
Okay.
guy.
Okay.
So yeah. He trained in judo from very young, and
Like it's not
yeah,
going.
because he is like a tough kind of guy. I believe that he is, because you have to have kind of a tough kind of will to do the type of stuff he does,
Yeah.
you know. And a death match with him, I would not, that would be, he probably could beat up any world leader
Mm.
because again, from his
Look,
judo skills, just because of the judo, I just know from that.
yeah. But one thing I want to clear up, because if people listen to this, Rami, it's sounding quite supportive of Putin. I want to just say, like, I agree with you. He's not like the worst villain in the world. I think there are worse. However, I definitely think the man isn't running the country the way he probably should, because I see a lot of misused funds. The corruption there. There's a lot of shit, and you should not be paying. I don't care who you are, what country you're from. If you're putting 1 billion quid in your own luxury, whatever the fuck that was, and not giving it to the poor places of the rest of the country, there's something wrong, right? And I want to just give a little example to people to understand the economic situation in Russia. How much is the average salary, Rami, do you think, per month in Russia?
I'm gonna go USD here. Average.
Yeah, go USD.
I, I'll probably say somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per
So
month.
there's different economies within Russia. St. Petersburg and Moscow are a different ecosystem. The rest of
Right.
Russia is all together. In a Moscow and St. Petersburg, the average salary is roughly, a good salary is about 1,000 USD per month.
Hmm.
For the rest, it's more like 300 or $400 per month. and a
Pretty
lot of
cheap.
them, yes.
That's almost comparable with Colombia.
Well, yes, that's the thing. When you think about South America, you understand the wages. But when you look at Russia and you hear someone is earning, someone working for PwC, bro, as a finance sort of analyst or whatever, is on $300 per month,
Wow.
right?
I
And
I I
qualifications, has to speak English, has to have a degree or a master's or something in that field. Like the qualifications do not match the salary.
Yeah, I mean, not. I mean, I can't believe I forgot this part, or I didn't like as you were saying that, and I was like, wow, this reminds me of like kind of like Cuba. Then I just put it together, like, oh, they're both communists. That's why, right? Right? Because in Cuba, because I have a lot of Cuban friends as well, they put this like kind of like, you better be English speaking, you better be educated, you better. Oh, best what? We're not gonna pay you shit because we're in a communist country, right? So kind of like the expectations similar to Russia. You better be educated. You better have a degree. You better be the best
Yeah.
in your field. Oh, by the way, monetary compensation. Don't even think about that because that has nothing to do with your country. You
Mm.
know. I actually watched. You know, it's funny. I watched You know, I'm into the. You know, I told you I'm into the DC animated.
Yeah.
By the way, we need to have a podcast about how DC
We'll do
needs
it.
to. Yeah, when DC needs to listen to its animated uh, uh, section because the animated movies are so much better than the live action ones. But anyway, I just saw one called Superman: The Red Sun, right? And it's a reimagined Superman, right? What happened if Superman was came from Russia instead of the American Superman? You know,
Okay.
I highly recommend it. It's a great kind of twist on the original kind of thing, and it's again he was very like patriarch, very about the Mother Russia, like
Yeah.
right, about that kind of attitude, and then he I'm gonna ruin it for everybody, but he changes his tune, right,
Nice.
a little bit toward the end, but not in a kind of like, oh, America, you're right. It's a very kind of like, I will be open to a different perspective,
Right.
and I don't agree with communism at all. Like that, the democracy is flawed, but communism is life depriving. Have you ever seen people that grew up in Cuba?
Mm.
I've never seen people with more lifeless faces. Like it feels like
Yeah.
they were drained, and I'm like, man, that can't be good for anybody,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I feel you. Like again, he is a red sun, Vladimir Putin, right?
Huh?
And he's gonna always be a red sun. He's gonna always Russia, Russia, Russia. The way I was growing up, this is how we've survived, and there's a lot of people who agree with him
Mm.
on that because they're Russia, wherever you want to say, they are a powerhouse in the world. I mean, it's America and Russia in terms of, and China is like there somewhere in the middle, right?
I'd say
Right?
China's a
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. No, I'm talking about as far as powers, the powers of the world. Like, like Russia. It's always been U.S., Russia, and China lately, the last 10 years or so, has been up there because of their mass, because they have so many fucking people, right? So they're just a fucking force, right?
Okay.
But it's always been U.S. and Russia, and he said, in his point of view, again, right? I feel like he's saying, listen, if you like that stance,
Mm.
I'm the man to keep it like this.
Mm.
That those young people that wanna, wear, nipple piercings while they walk on the street with their shirts off, and right, those guys will ruin Russia, right? And and that's, I guess, that's a kind of dichotomy of views there, but
Yep.
you know,
Um, I was thinking it was more like U.S., China, Ireland, Russia. I'm joking.
Ireland. You can't remember when I say U.S. By the way, I'm including the Western kind of culture in Europe and all that
What?
stuff.
Really?
I'm talking about, like, yeah, because we're so united in terms of
Culture.
not culture, political and uh adversarial kind of views here. Like if we went into a war, it'll be Russia versus everybody else. Like
Mm.
it'll be Russia, kind of maybe China would go with Russia, or China. If we went to a war, Russia would definitely be in the opposite of where Ireland is, where America. Because again, we're all like we kind of like have the secret pact that if anything goes down, we're in it together. So
Ramy, it's funny. I'm not convinced if Russia declared a war, I'm not convinced that people from Russia would actually get involved. I think a lot of Russians, you wouldn't believe the amount of Russians I talk to that actually really like the UK, really like the United States. Like
yeah, it's fun.
they watch their own media and they tell me about it. They tell me, Craig, the media that they're getting a lot of the time is sort of shitting on the Western countries. But they say, in actual fact, if you talk to Russian people, because there's a lot of bloggers and so on, and Russia's really big into that now, they actually say they really like a lot of the stuff going on in the UK and in the States. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, bro. Okay, in the U.S. Constitution, the pursuit of happiness. That's something that was written in there. You ain't gonna find that in the Russian Constitution. I mean,
Wow.
and that all comes with sort of fun. And you see the guy with a million girls versus like you, or I mean, it's like wow. Of course you want to be part of that. And you're not looking at the really bad stuff either, because what's projected is fun, exuberance, and joy, and I'm all about that as well. I think that's how you live life.
Yeah.
But the communism has its strengths,
Mm,
and it is, it's a kind of uniting, kind of adhesive that keeps things together. Democracy, as we could see,
mm,
man, you never know what's going to happen with that. And
yeah.
some people are afraid of that, and that's why people don't like democracy. And also it gives and it's funny because no matter what, we talk about oligarchs
Mm,
and now capitalism, because capitalism is synonymous with democracy these days,
yeah.
right? So we talk about oligarchs. It's all about money in the end, right? Who controls Russia? Oligarchs. What? Because they're billionaires.
Mm,
Well, who controls the U.S., the U.K.? Well, they're rich and powerful because they're rich and powerful, right? So like either way, we're like the little guy. Your guys that me and you, and we're the ones that are being played here.
mm.
But that's another
That's another
life
one.
conversation. Let's move on to Conor McGregor,
I was
right?
just about to say that. Let's move on. But boys and girls, anyone listening, do actually let us know your views on this. If you are you a supporter of Putin? Are you completely against him? What do you think of this palace? Is it absurd? Is it reasoned? Your experiences with Russians, be interesting. See what people think. But yes, Ramy, what have you read up on the Conor McGregor fight against Dustin Poirier that happened last night?
I haven't read too much. I did see most of it. I just tuned in for that fight, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, here's a couple of things. So I'm a judo guy.
Mhm.
I've been practicing judo for the last 15 some odd years, right?
Mhm.
And judo really changed my perspective on fighting,
Mhm.
right? Um, it taught me that for you to be good at something, especially in fighting, you better practice that one thing
Mhm.
and be good at it,
Mhm.
right? You can't be like, yeah, I'm just a fighter, right? And that might get you by, but when you meet a person with real skill set that has that one experience in that one thing, right? You might be in trouble.
Mhm.
Okay. Now let's take Conor McGregor, right? Great scrappy fighter. When I see him fight, it reminds me of my friends who, I don't know if you ever had friends like this, but because I grew up in an urban area, we always had friends that could fight well. Like
Mhm.
if they always got into lots of fights and they've won most of them, right?
Mhm.
Because they were scrappy. They were just like scrappy. They moved when they like with the right timing. They punched the right time to knock the guy out, and they were like, "Hey, you don't mess with that guy,"
Mhm.
right? Without really any skill set. I mean, they were sort of in shape, but not really, right? Let's go to Conor McGregor now. He is a fighter that's great, really good in shape, right?
Mhm.
Scrappy attitude, love his attitude. Everybody loves his attitude. Yeah, that's the fighter you want to be. Like kind of like f you. I'm not. I don't give a fuck what you. I'm gonna still destroy you, right? You know. and it's kind of like "fuck you, pussy," like stuff like those type of comments that gives this attitude of his. Right now, he fought a few battles, and yesterday it looked like he one ran out of gas at some point where he was just kind of throwing wild kind of punches, and he was kind of doing these kind of weird awkward stance punches to his opponent. And what was his opponent's name again? Sorry.
Dustin Poirier.
Dustin, right? So Dustin kept his cool and kind of stuck to a plan. And at one point, Connor like found himself in trouble and got punched in the face, and he was just like, "Oh!" And he guys kind of like got shook there, right? And Dustin knocked him out, or technical knockout, right? So one thing about the UFC, I've never liked the UFC or MMA, right? Yeah, and this is funny again, coming from a fighter, right?
Yeah.
Right, because it played down. First of all, it's all kind of most of the fighters are third rate boxers, right? They get together, they kind of like box, and they're not boxers, right? They're just kind of like boxing, and then some guy picks you up and maybe does some BJJ and wins, or somebody either knocks you out from punching you, right? So when you meet the really high skill set dudes, right? In the MMA and UFC history, those are the ones that really go long, kind of undefeated type of things, right? So I just feel Connor either has to learn new tricks, or he should just call it a wrap and become this, you know, uh, Irish whiskey, whatever whiskey he sells or
Yeah.
whatever, and that's how I feel. I think I feel like he's a great in shape fighter. He's like a great spectacle for people. I like the guy. He seems like a cool dude that that's a good friend, and that'll pick you up, and that like will fight the good fight with you. But in terms of skill set, I just feel like he's an old dog, and he hasn't learned any new tricks from his last few fights. Now, that being said, when he fought Cowboy, he did this kind of shoulder thing that he brought out last night, and I just thought that was so cool because I was like, wow, I've never seen anybody use their shoulder like a weapon like that, and that was like fucking awesome. And but that Cowboy dude was like he had no skill, like he had zero skill set. And the MMA, they put like 30 guys in there, and they try to hype them up like they're the best fighter in the world when they're not, mediocre at best. And you have like maybe a handful that are really kind of like top, like notch
Cream
dudes,
of the crop.
right? Cream of the crop. And even in the history, I mean, you can probably name 5 guys that were like the real deal. So yeah, I mean, can he fight again? Sure. If he picked some loser dude who had no skills and he would win, sure. But if he fought like Khabib again, who is a judo fighter and a
Khabib.
wrestler,
Khabib.
Habib, whatever, right,
Wrestler.
right, right,
Wrestler.
right, wrestler. No, he does do judo, right? Habib was a judo guy and a wrestler, right? I mean, again, he grew up in that. You know what I'm saying? Like he like somebody that grew up in one sport and that like mastered the sport. He's gonna have trouble, and everybody's gonna say, oh, he's done and finished. Again, I'm not saying he's finished. I'm saying that he could continue on, but not against highly skilled opponents. He's gonna find that he's gonna lose a lot of those.
So I've got a couple of points. Just yeah, like I'll give my view on what you just said. Uh, Number one, you mentioned like what you think happened. I think it wasn't that he didn't have any energy or anything, and that usually is the case for him. But you got to remember as well, bro. This is in the second round. This is not a time where you really lose your all of your energy. But what he thinks it was, and what everyone else in the media is thinking, and even his opponent Dustin Poirier, was the big factor. The big factor was the leg kicks on the lower calf. Dustin was chopping him with these kicks that was wrapping around. Uh, it was getting to the muscle. Connor didn't check it properly. He was turning his leg outwards, but he wasn't turning all the way to hit the shin. Right? Maybe then it would put Dustin off throwing those. And I watched the post-match interview from Connor, Dustin, and Dana. and that's what they all kind of concluded. Conor said that those calf kicks fucked him. He said that he thought he was checking them right, but he says he didn't do enough. He says he was unprepared for it, or he didn't realize how powerful it was, and how much it would affect him. He says his leg was pretty compromised. It affected everything else. And that's what I saw when he was throwing his. He loves the jab and then follow through with the left, like the killer shot. And I noticed he was off balance when he was doing it. And I think that was a lot to do with the weight he could put on his leg. That's just me, somebody who watches, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, if he got punched really hard in the face, he could have said the same thing about a punch. I'm just saying, when you're in a fight, right? And I've been in, some fights, street fights, and um tournaments as well through judo and stuff, right? And the ones that I've lost, I always was like hesitant to get into the fight. Like I always thought, and when a guy like hit me or something, like it was just kind of like a shock because I didn't want to even be there in the first place. So like my will to take a good hard punch or whatever, right, was just gone, right? So I, was there? Yes, was that a great strategy from Morris's, whatever his name is, parts, right? But whatever Dustin's part, great, right? And I'm sure, like, that was a great strategy on his part. I'm just saying, it looks like because he didn't get stopped from the kicks, he got stopped because he got punched out. You know what I'm saying? Like pop, pop, pop. It wasn't from the kick. He was like, "Oh my leg." He was like,
But bro,
you know,
is that not a huge factor that someone can't stand their leg makes them easier hit?
Yes, yes, but that again, all that strategy stuff works, right? But when you're a professional fighter, right, you're expecting to get fucked up, man. I mean, it's just an attitude, like, yeah, hit me with the best you got. Like, what? Nothing. Pow. I mean, that's just how fighters are. Think about it. Think about all the great fighters, including Conor, right? You think nobody ever kicked him in his fucking calf before, and all the fights he's had really hard? I mean, that's what I'm trying to say, man. It seems like he's lost something, right? That he is like, whatever it is. Maybe he doesn't admit it to. Maybe he doesn't even know it. But from what I saw, right, he just ran out of something. Maybe it wasn't like energy or gas, and he was like, oh my leg, oh, right. There's always like a point where a champion, right, gets overwhelmed, right, and Conor got overwhelmed. He could say a kick, but it's more than that. I think.
I think it was overwhelmed. That's a big one.
Yes, because overwhelmed. Yeah,
You
sure,
mentioned
yeah.
not only the calf kicks, Ramy, but the other thing he did mention, and this might be your little missing piece that you're talking about, he mentioned that he thought ring rust was a big thing. He says, I've been pretty inactive in the ring, whereas Poirier has been at it.
But you see, that very point is my point, right? He could say it's ring rust, right? But it is the will to win. It's the will to take whatever the other guy gives you and punch harder. Telling you, very few people could do that. That's why they're champions. That's why they are champions. That's why Conor, when he first came on the scene, because I'm telling you, I could guarantee you somebody hit him hard before than that, whatever those kicks were, and he just like took it and was like, "What? Nothing. I'm Conor. I'll fuck you up." Right now, it's like he's rich, he's fat. I mean, not fat in a, not. I mean, not fat in the literal sense. I'm talking about like he is comfortable. Like he got plenty of money. The guy. He's not a hungry fighter anymore.
Sure.
And when you get to that point, that's even harder to win than when you were like starting out. Like now he has nothing to prove. People like yourself, you're like fans of Conor, and he cannot do nothing to ruin that for you, because you've seen him like really beat a lot of opponents, and you like who he is, and he's Irish on top of everything. You understand what I'm saying? He's lost a step. And I'm not saying he's lost it to the point where he can't continue. I'm just saying he better learn some new tricks, or he should retire. And that's pretty much it.
Let me make a little point. Like I feel I feel like you're kind of counting them out quite abruptly. And I just want to ask you, do you know what ranking Dustin Poirier is?
No.
No idea.
No idea.
He's number 2.
What does that mean?
let me make this point, right? Khabib, the champion, #1, and now he's retired. The next best guy is Poirier. Poirier has beaten a lot of the fighters in that division, and so is Conor beating those fighters in the division. Conor's also beaten him. This is the second time they fought each other. Conor TKO'd him, and now he's TKO'd Conor.
Right. That's my point, though.
You're saying the earlier days he had it, and
exactly. That's what
right?
I'm saying, man.
But sorry, yes. The point I want to make here is, and I know it. Yes, I know what you're going to say, but I'll let you. The point that I want to make here is that I don't think you could say that it's all to do with desire. Whenever, if it happened with Cerrone, okay, there's some desire lost there. But you're talking about a guy who is #2 and has beaten you're talking about the top 2 in the division who went head to head. And, it's not like Conor didn't show up and he got his ass onto him. He connected some big shots. Poirier in the post interview, he says, yeah, he hit me with that left and it hurt me. He said, if Conor kept that pressure up, he would have been in trouble.
Again
to my win grade. He didn't have the desire to keep it up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you are exactly what I'm saying is that I know if he meets somebody with still the heart and the fire, Conor is going to be in trouble. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying he should quit, right? I don't know if he is or not. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, right? I'm just saying that, and he has, I love Conor. I love that he comes back. I love that he's like, you fuck it, I'll fight. Like everybody loves that about him. And he's a beloved kind of champion, right? Even though with the way he did with
that was bad. Yeah.
Habib was kind of fucked up, right? But the way he treated them, so he anytime he meets somebody with a very good skill set that's kind of in his prime, right? Like what's his name?
Dustin Poirier.
Dustin Poirier, right?
Yeah.
Right? He's gonna have trouble. Like the guy said, if he kept that punch, but you guess what? Dustin Poirier took that punch, was like, fuck that. I'm, like it's just, again, it's like a will of a champion, man. That's why everybody that goes into the UFC doesn't survive, because that will is so kind of hard to keep. And
how can you, Ramy? How can you keep that will after 20 fights?
Ronda Rousey, right?
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey, right? And Ronda Rousey has actually came to my judo spot a few times and over in Jersey when I was training there, right? So she's a judoka that we all kind of knew about because she won, I think it was the bronze. I think she won the bronze and the gold medal for judo, right? Okay. Right? And she had a great success because of the judo, because she was a judoka, a Olympian judoka, like a judo, like a highly high skill set. And she won. She beat everybody's ass until she met a woman who was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to kick Ronda in the face, right? Because she's gonna try to grab me, right? Because Ronda, Ronda didn't change like her, because she was like, yeah, I'm gonna just, right, and she got beat up, she got knocked out, and ever since then, what happened? She has not been anywhere near the way, because it's all up here. A knockout didn't change Ronda's physical kind of strength or anything. It's a mental thing, man. And I'm just trying, right? And I'm just trying to say this mental thing is affecting your boy Conor as well. And when that happens, it's like, how they put a dog down, you gotta shoot him because, like, that's it, he lost it, right? Conor needs to probably put himself down now, because, like, I just don't understand. Like, he cannot compete with the best anymore, because he tried to fight 2 of the best, like you said, and he lost, right? So what is he going to do? Fight mediocre dudes like the Cowboy dude again? I mean, yeah, he's going to beat those guys all day because they lost it a long time ago. Cowboy lost it way Conor. And yeah, Conor will beat anybody who lost it because he's still in shape and he knows how to fight, right? But again, when you put him against the best of the best, he's just not there anymore, man. He's whiskey number 9, whatever the fuck.
I'll give you.
Have you tried that whiskey, by the way? That whiskey.
I haven't, and I wanted to try that. I haven't got around to it, but I will do it. Maybe I'll do a wee review.
Proper. What does it say? Proper number 9 whiskey, right? Or
yeah, I've got a few whiskey bottles up here. So to your point, Ramy, Ronda, it only took a couple more fights after that for her to actually exit from the UFC. She did call it quits. And I don't think Conor's at that point yet where, he doesn't see that he's got a future. He still thinks he can come back and actually beat him. And he might, because look, whenever he lost to Nate Diaz in the first one, he went away and he came back and then he beat him. Okay, it was a very controversial decision, but he didn't lose. He was close enough that he got the win. Like, he could very easily go away. They could do the trilogy with Poirier, and he could win that fight very easily.
Yeah,
We're talking completely different about it.
No. I'm not, like I told you. There's no like he don't got anything anymore. He's still a professional fighter. So if you put him back in the ring 10 times with Justin, right? That he's gonna perform, right? What's his name? Not Dustin, right? Right? Dustin, right?
Dustin. God damn it, Tommy.
I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. I can hardly remember your name sometimes. Right?
Colin.
So, don't tell me that, because, right, Dustin, right? So if he will, and again, I said if he learns new tricks, he could come back, right? Did you hear that part? I said,
but I also
learn new tricks.
I also heard you, like, the way so like your tone, like, you think that you're saying, he can't compete at the top anymore. He can't. He should,
No, not against the very, very best. I'm just saying he better change something, because a guy comes back like Ali and Frazier, right? The greatest. I don't know if you've ever seen any of their fights from the reels and stuff. Ali Frazier, it's like, Thriller and Manila. Ali beat Frazier beat Ali first, and Frazier and Ali comes. That's why Ali is such a like wow, because he came back from defeat against the very best and beat them, because he's changed his strategy. He changed the way he fought just a little bit, just to and that's how he kind of came back in resilience, right? Conor could do that, sure. I mean, that would make him a greater champion, right? But to do that, you have to kind of admit what you did was faulty in the first one, and like to him, like, oh, the guy did something to me and I didn't block it properly. Right? That's not what happened, right? You have to change the way you attack that guy. You have to change something, the way you attack an offensive strategy, not a defensive strategy, right?
I think we have totally different opinions on this. I think the way he's looking at that, Ramy, as an attack that he didn't deal with correctly, I think that is a massive factor in the whole fight. Yes, he can bring more ferocity or whatever else, but whenever a man's leg is dead and he can't put weight on it and he's off balance, it's affecting how he's throwing. Like, I think that's a good piece of internal feedback from himself, that he's saying, next time I'm gonna figure out this leg kick. I'm not gonna let it happen, because then I'll be able to throw the punches that I want to throw.
If he continues that strategy where he thinks it's just a leg, bro, he's gonna lose again. I'm telling you, he's gonna lose again. Like I said, he came with Cowboy with his like kind of shoulder pop, right? And that took out Cowboy in seconds, right? Because that was something totally unexpected and new. That's what I'm saying. He needs to come up back with something totally unexpected and new.
Sure.
Otherwise, he was gonna lose. It's just not that leg check,
Yeah.
It's
Listen, I don't want to seem like I'm just like licking his arse hair here, but I just feel like there's more to this than we can ever analyze right here and summarize. So, like, it's very totalitarian of us to kind of, this is it. But like he even said himself, and this is the case for most fighters when they go in there, you ain't gonna get a chance to showcase all the skills that you actually do have. We only see what works in that moment in a crazy 90 seconds or 120 seconds. I would give a little bit more. I think if they do the fight again, we're gonna have different views on this.
Well, all right. If it was just a leg check, why didn't he stall throughout the whole thing? If it was just like that, I mean, you don't have you could block still with your leg fucked up. I mean, you could still block, right? I mean, he got caught by punches, man. I'm just telling you.
Sure. And that's a factor as well. Yeah.
Right. There's something different than just the leg check. Yes, the leg check was a very obvious excuse for him, right? And I'm saying that, yes, that has everything to do with it, right?
Yeah.
But again, he is a champion that's been in tougher situations than that and won.
Okay.
So something was like, you know what? Something in his mind was like, whoa, this is too much for me. Something happened in that fight that said, this is too much for me. Like that happened with Habib, right? Or Khalib, whatever, right? Habib, because it sounds like Habib, right? Same thing, you know. And but but Khalib was really upset with Connor because he fucking cursed out his family or something, and he tried to beat him up, and he
So,
fucked.
boys and
He
girls,
lost. He lost a little bit of my
definitely,
respect for that shit, you know. So
yeah. Uh, if you're listening to this and screaming at either one of us because you think of
we've
something,
done our job.
like let's hear, right? I want to know: is Connor done? Do you agree with Ramy that there's something missing? Or do you think these leg kicks really did? They were the beginning of the end. Um, what's the next move for McGregor? And God, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? God, that's really riled me up. Not like or stressed me out somehow, Ramy. I just feel like
Yeah, it just
I don't know why
reminds
it
you that
stressed me.
because it reminds you life ain't easy, bro. We had this conversation before. It's just another struggle. I mean, you just it just reminds you that if Connor wants to be good again, even at the top,
Mm,
it's not. It's still you still got to do a lot of work to
true.
be even when you make it. When
Mm,
you've made it and established everything, there's still so much work to keep that, and people don't realize that. And that's why I would never take anything away from Connor,
mm.
right? Because, and I
Yeah.
don't think anybody has ever fought, even Khalib, even if he was what was he, what was he laughing at, right? Right?
You keep
Even
saying Khalib with an L, but it's Habib with a B.
oh, but Khabib,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Even with Khabib, I mean, even though Khabib hates that motherfucker, right?
Mm,
He hates Conor, right? He still respects him because, again, even with a dude like that, he ain't no punk.
mm.
That's for sure. Nobody could say Conor McGregor doesn't have balls of steel, and
Yeah.
that's like he backs it up. He
Lot of
might curse
respect.
out your mother, but he was like, "All right, motherfucker, let's fight then." He'd be like, "Let's fight," you know, like he's like one of those guys that never backs down. And I
Yeah.
think that's what he still has the respect, and that's what is bothering you. Like, man, this guy has been a top, and he still has to do so much stuff to really be there at the top again. You know?
Yeah, maybe that is my frustration. Like as a fellow countryman, like regardless, it's hard for us as a nation to not watch that man in the ring and not feel like he's a part of us in some way. So like, we're ecstatic when he wins and there's this national buzz. A lot of people here don't like him though, as well, I will say. But there's
You know,
equally this see when he
he's
loses, man, a
yeah.
lot you feel it. Like you're in a pub
Well,
with
I'll
him
tell
and
you,
other people.
I'll tell you though, from what I've read from him, he's very humble in his defeats, even with
Yeah.
Khabib, right? It's a very he's very humble, and his like, you know what, I've lost. I'm not gonna make a big deal
Khabib?
about it, huh?
You're talking about Connor, you mean, not Khabib. Khabib,
Connor,
yeah,
even with his
Khabib.
losses, I said even with Connor's losses,
Oh,
he still he loses with honor. Like he doesn't like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
cry about it. He doesn't say like, yo, you know what, I lost. I
Hmm.
tried my best. This guy was better. I mean, you got to respect that.
You
You know?
should watch his post fight interview there. It was exactly what he said. He took it on the chin and give props to Dustin. And, that thing,
Yeah, yeah, man.
that was all for charity as well, by the way. And yeah, Dustin's charity, what's it called? Fight the Good Fight. But he's donating to that, and he congratulated Dustin and his family, and he's happy for him and his hot sauce that he brought out. But yeah, Romy, should we wrap this up?
Let's wrap things up. Anybody who's watching this is probably like, can you guys finish already?
Anything do you wanna finish it off, Romy? Wrap it up.
Sure. So that was episode 8 of Side Talk with Ramy and Craig and Ramy. I told you names. So that's great. Next time we will talk about this DC stuff, maybe in another Side Talk.
Sounds
But
good.
here's good night and good luck from Medellin.
Thank you.